Coming up on the Movie Film Show today, we're taking a look at all this week's movie news and trailers, including trailers for Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead, The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, Fast 9, and a new movie by David Oyelowo. On top of that, we've got news of an addition to Indiana Jones 5, news about the new Spiderman movie, and I'll be telling you about Carey Mulligan's new project on the back of her success with Promising Young Woman. But there's only one place to start this week, and that's with The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier last week on episode 4 had an explosive episode that blew the series wide open, brought some action in and really revved up the series. And in episode 5 they said, okay, let's cool the jets. Take it back a step, go back to what we're used to. Boring, exposition, not a whole lot happening. Now okay, it had its moments, but again, this episode is more akin to the first 3 episodes where not a whole lot happens. In fact, we even go all the way back to the boat, which, you know, had me worrying that we were going to go back to the land of bank loans and he was going to apply for a different bank loan this week. That's where I expect the whole series to end on. The cliffhanger of will he or won't he get a bank loan? You know, the Avenger, the government employee who like saves the world, who doesn't apparently get paid. This episode, it did have some interesting things. Obviously now we've got the fallout from episode 4, and if you haven't seen episode 4, you can either check out the Movie Film Show last week where we talked all about it, which I'd highly recommend, or you go check out that episode and then come back here because there might be some spoilers about episode 4, which was definitely the best episode of the series so far. But episode 5 kind of has the fallout for what happened at the end of episode 4, specifically with John Walker, the new Captain America, or I guess now the former new Captain America. So he's basically put on trial for what he did. Now the episode did start out with an explosive fight, I guess, between the Falcon, the Winter Soldier, and the new Captain America with his super strength serum. And the fight was definitely interesting. It definitely had a wow moment in it when the new Captain America ripped off the Falcon's wings. Definitely a cool moment. But beyond that, in the episode definitely took a nosedive in terms of the action. And sure, they're trying to tell a good story. They definitely didn't need to slow down the pace as much as they did. You can see they're putting building blocks in place, but it doesn't seem like they're putting building blocks into place for the final episode. There's only one more episode. It definitely seems like they're building for future series or maybe even another movie down the line. And this seems to be the case with The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It seems to be a stopgap within Marvel just to introduce new characters and introduce new elements. But after Falcon and the Winter Soldier subdue the new Captain America and take him in, I guess, he gets put before a court or a trial and he's stripped of the title of Captain America, although he refuses to acknowledge that. They demand he returns the shield even though the Falcon has the shield. I guess they don't know that. But he's stripped of his rank, told he's not going to hold a pension or anything after he's retired because, you know, that's all the stuff we were really interested in, whether he has a pension afterwards. But as he's waiting outside, we get a big shock cameo nobody saw coming. Julia Louis-Dreyfus pops up in Marvel for the first time as a woman with a really long name. She said not to call her Val, so let's call her Val. And it's perhaps the crossover nobody saw coming between the Avengers and Seinfeld. Can't wait to see Jerry in the next episode. That's gonna be fun. The interesting thing with Julia Louis-Dreyfus is that apparently her character was supposed to pop up in the Black Widow movie. Now I'm sure she probably still does. I haven't seen the movie yet, it hasn't come out yet. But initially she was supposed to appear in the Black Widow, and then this cameo I guess would have been, I guess, a little less shocking, but would have made more sense because we would have known who she is overall. I'm sure people who love comic books know exactly who she is, but for an average Joe like me, I was like, oh cool, Julia Louis-Dreyfus is in this. I guess she's a bad guy. It didn't really have any impact on me that, oh, that's who this character is, because there's no backstory there. I don't know who she is, who she's associated with. Black Widow will probably clear all that up, and I'm assuming that this is more of a season 2 thing. They definitely seem to be gearing up for a season 2 of Falcon the Winter Soldier, because otherwise season 6 has to be the most explosive episode ever where they wrap up everything, the Carey Morgenthau thing, kill off the new Captain America, hopefully, figure out what they're doing with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, but certainly an interesting addition to the MCU. Black Widow, of course, has now been pushed back to July 9th, so it will be interesting to see if they develop her character more in that movie, because I don't think they're going to develop her too much in episode 6. On top of that, the other part we had was Isaiah Bradley and more of his story, and that was perhaps the most interesting part of the entire story. I think that part was set up to foreshadow what's going to happen. The Falcon is offered the shield back, told he can be the next Captain America, and he's going to refuse it based on the wise words of Isaiah Bradley, which ultimately should lead to the Winter Soldier becoming the new Captain America or holding the shield. That would make sense, and I think that's something that a lot of MCU fans have been calling for. Both of them had that training scene where they're both just throwing the shield off a tree, showing that they both know how to use it. Obviously, the Falcon had more of it, but Winter Soldier, there was kind of like a tease that he knows how to use it and he knows what he's doing with the shield. And I think ultimately that's where the shield will go. The weird things with this episode was just the making of the episode. For some reason there was two different montages. There was a fixing the boat montage. Falcon and the Winter Soldier both took on different jobs in fixing the boat. But even after their montage of fixing the boat still wasn't fixed. And they kept coming back to that later on. And then they had a training montage later on for the Falcon, because I guess they love montages. And then on top of it, they had some really weird, out of place music in this show. It's not for me to decide what music goes into each show. I'm just a random Irish agent on the internet talking about movies and TV shows. The music definitely didn't seem to fit, in my opinion, and more was akin to a Lethal Weapon. It was really weird, the choice of music they used later on in the movie, especially like during the training montage and the fixing the boat montage. And the show has definitely suffered from some bad filmmaking. One episode had like super shaky cam, and this episode had overuse of montages and just bad use of music. Yeah, there's been some bad filmmaking, or show making, I guess, with this series, and I think that's why I haven't liked the series as much as I should. Although overall, when you look at the 5 episodes, you could probably condense all of the series down to 2 episodes, because a lot of it is just filler. But we're set up for episode 6 now. Falcon has the shield and he's done his training montage. Winter Soldier, he's around. Carey Morgenthau, she was very sporadically used in episode 5. The ping thing in New York, and there's setting up that there's going to be a big event in New York next week that I guess she's going to be a big part of. But she was used sporadically in this episode. We'll see where her character arc goes, whether she turns good or is ultimately killed off. And then we've got the new Captain America, who in the post-credits scene, if you haven't seen it, there is a post-credits scene where he's making his own shield, which raises many questions as to, is he just making a basic shield, or is it somehow going to have the same powers as Captain America's shield? Because if it does, that's going to be damn stupid, because how does he imbue powers into that shield? But I guess we're going to find out next week for episode 6. For me, I think this episode, it was okay. It wasn't spectacular. It was definitely a letdown after episode 4. It was perhaps a little bit better than the first 3 episodes, but it was more in the direction of the first 3 episodes. But hopefully episode 6 is going to be action-packed, because it needs to be. Because otherwise the series, in my opinion, overall will be a major flop. But let me know your opinions on Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and let's get into this week's movie news. Yet again, it's been a very interesting week in the world of movie news, but more importantly, in movie trailers. One trailer dropped this week was The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. Check it out.
I'm officially on sabbatical, and to be honest, I don't know why I didn't do this sooner. As if the world's been waiting for me to make this change. For the first time, I'm starting to imagine a life without bodyguarding. This really feels like a new beginning. Don't I know you?
The mafia took my husband.
Kill them.
We have to go get him.
No. I'm not getting involved in this.
Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard is the sequel to The Hitman's Bodyguard. So I'm assuming like the third one's gonna be something like The Hitman's Wife's Dogs, Friends, Mothers, Sisters, Uncles, Cousins, Dogs, Pets, Cats, Snakes, Words, Cousins, Bodyguard. It's a pretty long title. I'm not sure they'll go with that exactly, but it'll probably be something along those lines. Perhaps the most no one asked for sequel of all time. Hitman's Bodyguard was a standalone movie that was okay. It was enjoyable. It was like a 7, maybe a 6.5 out of 10. It wasn't spectacular, but it wasn't awful. I don't think anybody out there was clamoring for a sequel or was hanging on tenterhooks waiting for the sequel to come out, but you're getting the sequel, whether you want it or not. It's coming out, Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. But another trailer which caught my eye this week was for The Waterman.
I just want to know if the Waterman is real.
But that forest is alive. Being in those woods all alone, no chance to escape.
I know how to make you better. Do you know what he meant by that?
There's some weird stuff going on.
It's a sign. They're getting close.
Run!
Hope is a powerful force.
Kill
It made you see
Gunner!
what you wanted.
I'm gonna find it.
It made you see me.
1, 2, 3, 4. Close your windows, lock your door. 'Cause you never know for sure who it is he's coming for.
The Waterman, directed by David Oyelowo. I think I said his name right this time. When I did The Midnight Sky, I definitely got his name wrong, but I think I got it right this time. Oyelowo. To my knowledge, a directing debut for David Oyelowo, but certainly an interesting movie if nothing else, and at least it's not a sequel as far as I know. Now, based on the title, you could be forgiven for thinking it's a sequel, and I certainly was disappointed to find that it was not a sequel to Adam Sandler's 90s movie, The Water Boy. Missed opportunity right there. Maybe there's some link in between. Maybe it is a sequel because it didn't reveal who the Waterman is. So, maybe there's a spoiler right there. But speaking of Adam Sandler, he has a new movie coming out on Netflix in the distant future. It's supposedly a drama. It's called The Spaceman, and they have just added Carey Mulligan to the cast. And that movie just got very interesting indeed with that one addition, because Carey Mulligan, of course, is riding a high. After Promising Young Woman, a great performance. She's Oscar nominated. The Academy Awards are on this coming Sunday as of the recording of this. I personally really hope that she wins the award for Best Actress. I think she's fantastic in that movie. I've said it many times on this channel already and in the review of Promising Young Woman. It's interesting she's picked this project off the back of Promising Young Woman to be her next big project. An Adam Sandler movie, for a lot of movie fans, that rings alarm bells because he hasn't made the best movies over the years, although Uncut Gems got a lot of praise. Personally, it wasn't for me, but it did get a lot of praise. Spaceman is supposedly a drama as well, so maybe it'll be more in that vein. But all of the Academy Award nominated filmmakers and actresses and actors, they all seem to be popping up in different places now. And the maker of The Father, which has been nominated for the Best Picture, Florian Zeller, he has confirmed this week that he's moving on to his next project called The Son, which is the follow-up to The Father. The big news concerning that project this week is that Hugh Jackman and Laura Dern have been added to the cast. Pretty strong cast right off the bat on that one. Of course, Anthony Hopkins was in The Father and he's been Oscar nominated for his performance. So it seems like a follow-up to The Father is in the works and coming in the not too distant future. But speaking of a movie that's coming out in the not too distant future, a trailer for Fast 9 dropped this week.
Get in. Who is he? He's my brother. What?
Fast and the Furious 9. Although I think in different countries it's either Fast 10 or Fast 8. It's hard to keep up with it. In different countries it's different numbers for some reason. I think because Tokyo Drift in some countries was a standalone movie and in some countries it was Fast and Furious 3. I'm not sure of the whole details of Fast and Furious. To be honest, I stopped watching after Too Fast, Too Furious. I watched the first one, that was great at the time. I watched the second one, that was a movie. I didn't watch any of the rest of them, and I've never watched any of the rest of them, and I'm not planning on watching the rest of them, so Fast 9's coming out. The movie I am keeping an eye on is another Marvel movie. It's a Spider-Man movie. Spider-Man No Way Home. They're all about going home. One of them's Far From Home, one of them's Homecoming, one of them's No Way Home. It's been confirmed by Alfred Molina, who plays Doc Ock in the Sam Raimi films, that he's returning in this movie as the same character. Not a different variation of the character, the same character. Following on from news a few months ago that Jamie Foxx was reprising his role as Electro from Amazing Spider-Man #2. He's also coming back. So it definitely seems like they're doing like a Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse thing in No Way Home, which is making the next Spider-Man movie very interesting. There has been rumors of Tobey Maguire being back in some form in that movie, and maybe even Andrew Garfield. So it might be a case of all the Spider-Man movies coming together in one. That could be a complete disaster with too much happening all at once, but It'll be interesting to see what happens in Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm not sure when it comes out, but I'm definitely excited for that one. But jumping back to another Disney-owned title, and a movie I'm very excited for, despite the last one being terrible, Indiana Jones 5. This week it was confirmed that Mads Mikkelsen has now joined the cast. Following on from news last week of Phoebe Waller-Bridge joining the cast, you'd expect she'd be one of the good guys in the movie, but Mads Mikkelsen pretty much confirms Eastern European bad guy. Now I know Mads Mikkelsen is Danish, Scandinavian, but for the most part he tends to play Eastern European bad guys, so that's pretty much confirmed now. But the Indiana Jones 5 team is coming together. You got Indy. So far there's no news of Shia LaBeouf being in it. That's fantastic. As I say, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is in there, Mads Mikkelsen, James Mangold directing. Make of that what you will. Like I said on last week's show, if you didn't see that, check out last week's show for all the information on that and why Steven Spielberg isn't directing it. But Indiana Jones 5, I can't wait for it. Let me know your thoughts on Indy 5. Now this week, it's an interesting week for movies ahead because there's some big movie releases and you've got the Academy Awards next Sunday at the time of recording. But on top of the Academy Awards next week, Mortal Kombat finally comes out, a highly anticipated movie. Maybe there's finally going to be a good video game movie, and Netflix are going to be releasing Stowaway, which is a movie I'm very interested to see because their last Space movie was absolutely terrible. But a Netflix movie that I'm very excited for just dropped its trailer this week. That's Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. So to end this week's show, I'm gonna leave you with the trailer of that one. And of course, like always on the Movie Film Show, for any trailers featured on today's show, there will be links in the description below if you want to check out the full trailers. But if you enjoyed the Movie Film Show today, I'd really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button. Get us a little bit closer to hitting 200 subscribers. But for now, I'll leave you with the trailer for the Army of the Dead.
There's $200 million in the vault beneath the strip, with a 32-hour window to get it out. Find the safe. This should be a simple in and out.
It's not too late to go back.
If you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right.
What the?
They're not what you think they are. They're smarter. They're faster. They're organized.
Best that you can hope for is to die in your sleep.
Oh, scheiße.
You got to hold up. Know when to fold up. Know when to walk away. And know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough to count. When the deal's done.
What is this?
It's a goddamn zombie tiger.